All
All
right,
right.
man. This is the Domestic Draft Podcast. I'm Evan Bierman here with Dan Slowick. Today we're going to be recapping Week 3 of the NFL. We're going to be talking about the Bears' big win over the Texans, pushing them to 2-1. We're going to do a little bit of discussion on the Lonzo presser, maybe a little Bulls talk, and then I got a fun fast fact for the end of the show. Dan, what are you drinking? Start it up.
New brewery, never heard before, based out of Carlsbad. That's North County, San Diego. It's called Ruler Brewing, Rouleur. So it's pronounced however you like, they say, but Ruler is the new ruler. So I'm assuming that's pronounced ruler. The beer I have is an Endo. It's a 3.8 on Untapped. It's a West Coast IPA. And the description of it is that it's got Strata and Idaho 7 hops. It's got a pleasant pine and citrus character with hints of cannabis and stone fruit. Upon first sip, it's 7.2%. It's 55 IBUs. Very tasty, gluten reduced as well. Just a really good IPA. About the brewery, it was kind of interesting to learn about them and kind of where they came from. The founder of it, Raleigh Macias, actually used to be a judge. So you'd go around to a bunch of beer festivals and judge all types of beers. And he started to kind of question the process of why there were categories. Why does a certain beer have to have this color? Why does it have to be made with these hops? And he was more or less kind of like the mad scientist, and started to kind of go home and kind of experiment with different kind of variations of colors and hops and just kind of try to create these almost like Frankenstein beers. He started to do this and it actually was turning out and a lot of people were enjoying what he was making. So he went ahead and kind of decided to create his own, to give up judging, to actually get in the producing aspect of it. So he went ahead and created this brewery, Ruler Brewing. They're very, they got a lot of cycling in their background. He was a cyclist as well. So you'll see like on their cans, there's a lot of gears. And even this beer, the Endo, that refers to basically eating it and falling forward over your handlebars. That's an Endo. So new brewery for me out of Carlsbad, California, and it's called Ruler. What about you, man? What do you got?
Cool. So are you getting the hints of cannabis and stone fruit in there or one more than the other?
Nothing is punching me in the face.
Okay.
It's not as hop forward as I would think a 7.2% West Coast IPA would be. It's rather smooth and crisp. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
don't know what cannabis would taste like, Evan.
I actually have an IPA as well. It's from Hubbard's Cave. This is their fresh IPA. It's 7%. It gets a 3.95 on Untapped, so a pretty good score. It's hazy, it's bitter, but it doesn't have any kind of bite or anything like that. I just thought the can was interesting because it's very unassuming. White and black, very, here we are. But Hubbard's Cave, it's actually named after the Chicago Hubbard Street traffic tunnel on I-90-94. Next to where the brewery was born, and that was back in 2015. They began producing American-style ales, primarily imperial stouts, and the Hubbard's Cave signature fresh IPAs. They brew out of Unani, which was actually in Chicago until 2017 when they moved out to Niles. So Hubbard's Cave Brewery, check it out. Don't let the can do the talking. Let the beer do the talking. All
there
right.
It is. Little minimalist.
Little minimalist. And speaking of doing the talking, Dan, did you watch this Lonzo presser? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. The big takeaway, I think, from most people was the sound clip or the bite of him saying, I'm not ready to play basketball, right? It's hard to walk upstairs.
Right.
So what did you think of everything that he said there?
I didn't see the full thing, but I definitely saw all the clips and everything and read the body language and the frustration that you saw and heard. It's really strange. To be going this long with a minor procedure that was said to be minor last year, supposed to be like a 4 to 6 week kind of time period of recovery, and he was supposed to be ready for the playoffs, out the whole year. Rumors this summer he still has pain, don't know what's going on, seeing all these different specialists, and then ultimately deciding to do worst case scenario, which is go back under the knife. I mean, anyone who's ever had knee surgeries, the last thing you want to do is have another knee surgery. This is supposed to just
from
be
experience.
from experience. This is supposed to be just a cleanup job, or to kind of just go in there and see what's happening. It sucks. It totally sucks. I saw something like the point guards of the Bulls over the last 10 years is like Derrick Rose, Rajon Rondo, Chris Dunn, and Lonzo Ball, and they all have injury histories, and they're all often hurt. They're often not available. I was like drawing parallels. I was like, is the Chicago Bulls point guard similar to the Chicago Bears quarterback situation, to where it's just the one position to where the franchise can't get it right, or they do, and then there's injuries and unlucky situations happen. But
We
it's
had
definitely
it
not
right for a second with D-Rose. We had it right for a little bit there, you know,
it was perfect.
which,
And then injuries, which I don't know what's happening, but I mean, it's kind of worst case scenario to have your starting point guard go under the knife the day basically that your training camp starts, about a month before the season. So obviously we won't have him. And even like the questions being asked to Donovan, the head coach, of like, are you expecting to have him back, or are you preparing for him to be out for the year? And he gave light to that and said, basically you have to kind of prepare for worst case scenario.
Which is why they signed Goran Dragic. And that's how I felt when they signed him, was that this was an insurance policy. Absolutely. That, hey, we're probably not going to have him for the start of the season. And now with him going back under the knife, you might not have him for the whole season. So you can't rely on Io. It's good that they got Dragic then. And so now you got at least those two guys. But yeah, totally.
Now let me get your thoughts. I mean, training camp has started, media day happened, and the pressers kind of were released, and seeing new players in the Bulls uniform, and your boy Andre Drummond wearing, I believe he's good. Like number 3. Big guy.
He looks good in a Bulls uni.
He looks good in a Bulls.
He's usually 0, is he not? And that's,
I think so,
Kobe White has that. Is that what's going on there? Kobe White,
so.
give up the number, man. Give it to my boy. No, I love to see Drummond in the Bulls uni. I think it's the best uni he's worn so far. Career year, I don't know about that, but I'm excited to see him off the bench. And yeah, I mean, there's no way their rebound numbers are going to look as bad as they did last year. How much is that actually going to impact, them winning games? I think they're still going to need DeRozan to absolutely ball out, or Levine to take a major step. Those are the two things that I'm going to be watching for. I love Caruso. It's going to be nice to have him back for most of the year, hopefully. He'll definitely be driving that defense too. So
yeah. And I think the biggest thing Bulls fans are looking at too is like, all right, I want to see Patrick Williams. He's the big piece.
I wrote him off.
You wrote him off. You're done.
Yeah, I'm done. I told you this last year too. I'm done. I don't think I would have traded him. I think, while you still could.
What do you mean while you still could?
I think while there's still people like you that think he has a lot of value, that she's still young, whatever his age is now, 20. You keep saying it every
whatever
year.
His age is.
Now, he's 21 now. Yeah. So some guys you can see that they got the killer instinct, some guys don't, and he doesn't have it.
Okay, this could be his rookie year. He's younger than some of the players drafted.
It could be, but it's not. And that's the problem. Is that we've seen him play and he hasn't shown. Really, I haven't really seen anything.
He's been hurt,
to be honest with you.
He put up over 30. We put up like 34 points the last game of the season last year.
Yeah, one game. I don't know. Yeah. I got to see it over a stretch. One game tells me nothing.
I think you'll see it too. I was hearing him too. He went out and trained with DeMar, and I think an eye-opening experience is that training with one of the elite athletes in the NBA, and I think this kid actually got a look into what it actually takes. And I think I heard a quote, I forget who said it, but he basically realized you think you're pushing yourself hard. You think you're working out hard in the off season until you go train with somebody like a DeMar DeRozan, or, in years past, it would be like a Kobe or a LeBron, to where it's like, oh, like I could push through and even elevate it even more. I think he's the lightest he's been coming into the season. I hate that when it's like, oh, I'm best shape of my life, feel great. But for him
that's what you're giving me right now. Yeah.
For him to go and move out to LA for a couple of days and train with DeMar and hear that kind of workout regimen that DeMar does. And it's not a lot of weights, it's some body weight stuff, and it's a lot of mental, to where you're kind of pushing yourself beyond where you think you can go everything is a competition, right? That kind of mindset. Because I think Pat is a little too friendly, and to where I think if you put everything a challenge to him and just start having to compete in everything that he does, will make him a better player. I don't know. I think you're going to be eating your words.
All right. All right. I love to hear it. I mean, he's doing all the right things. I mean, that's the right thing to do. Work out with some of the best players in the NBA and, learn from
Yeah.
them. But
Yeah.
you mentioned the Bears as our quarterback situation being similar to the point guard situation. We did win this week. Bears did win
Sure
2-1.
did.
Or they're 2-1 this season. They won 23-20. It was a close game, very evenly matched. If you look at some of the statistics, they had an edge in total yards, 363 to 329, very close. Each team had 17 first downs and 2 takeaways. So pretty even game. Fields looked terrible though, in my opinion. I mean, he missed some pretty bad throws. That one interception just sticks on my mind. I think it was
The
it
Komet.
Komet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
coming
came out
across the middle.
lame duck. Yeah.
Yeah, terrible pass, gets picked off. But Khalil Herbert, absolute stud. Our run game
Stud.
just continues to look awesome, even though Montgomery goes out and he might miss this week, I believe. They're still not sure how many games he might miss, but Khalil Herbert looks just as good anyways. And still no Velus Jones, but we'll see when he might come back this week,
Same
I
with
believe.
what's his face that we got from the Patriots? Harry, right?
N'Keal Harris, yeah. He
N'Keal
was on
Harris
IR.
making his way back as well, and Pringle just went out. So I don't know. Everybody that we talk to and kind of the social media and the news and the talking heads you hear is just the disappointment of the quarterback, and already looking into like, hey, they gotta see what they have and draft a quarterback this offseason because Fields ain't it. Which I don't know. It's hard for me to buy that. I've always been the one to preach patience, and that our Bears fan base is the reason why we go through quarterbacks and why we can't have a sustained success at quarterback, is because we're so impatient and we're so demanding, to where you see some of these smaller market teams, they give the player some time to be bad and to learn from it and then to come back. I mean, somebody posted on Twitter today, I saw like Justin Fields' first 17 starts compared to Josh Allen's first 17 starts, and it was very similar. But he's out there in Buffalo, and he's able to learn from it. He's able to mature. He's in the system for a couple of years. This is Fields' first year in this system, first year with these coaches. It's his third game with this whole entire new roster and kind of outlook and design. Just give him some time, man. This is best case scenario. He's playing like shit, and we're 2-1.
Yeah. That Josh Allen, Justin Fields stat that you mentioned, first 11 starts, Fields is 4-7. Josh Allen was 4-7. Passing yards, Josh Allen 1850, Justin Fields 1774, Allen 7 touchdowns, Fields 9 touchdowns. It's very close.
And who tweeted that
Interceptions, they
out?
both had double digits. Jake Lane at JQKELANE.
No free ads.
No free ads. We don't know who you are, but great stat.
Yeah.
And,
what do you think about that?
Do
you agree with
that? It
that?
does open your eyes a little bit, but I haven't seen, I think with Josh Allen, you still saw some of that deep ball, and I think there was some questions about his deep ball accuracy, and then he gets a guy like Stephon Diggs, and then they get, somebody like Gabe Davis, who's a great red zone threat too, and big target, great player. We just don't have any receivers too, so for me, it's hard to judge.
I mean,
But
yeah, his
like that
best year
throw to
was
Komet
last year, right? Josh Allen's best year was last year.
I mean, the last 2 years he's been really great,
and then this year as well. And he also had Diggs, right? He was a legit number one.
Yeah.
This Bears receiving core has got nothing, man. I told you before the year started too. You were high on Mooney. I said he's a decent number 2 on a good team. And I think
he's not getting the targets. It's
but
Mooney's a great player.
He doesn't command them either. He's not big enough in stature. He that's the knock against him, right? Is that he's a little more frail, not frail, but he's a little skinnier, a little shorter. So he doesn't really demand those targets. I mean, St. Brown is the more typical built receiver that we have, and we see him getting kind of these like receiver handoffs, like these end arounds, and these like catches here and there. I think we got to be patient. I don't know. I think you're doubting it. I think I can sense that you're already kind of wanting to say that Fields isn't the guy and start looking elsewhere. But I bet you Bears fans.
I'll give him more of a leash than Patrick
I think
Williams.
Bears fans
I'll tell you
agree
that.
with you. Yeah, right. Like why?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we got to be patient, man. I think we got to be patient with Fields. I think he's legit. In college, I think he was one of the most accurate deep ball throwers. I think he just changed a lot coming into this year. I know he's changing his footwork. He's got his left foot up instead of his right foot up to start his drop back. He changed like his release angle, his elbows a little like higher up. Like he's changing a lot, and it's basically his first year with this offense. It is his first year with this offense, and I think we got to be patient. And I think for him being 2-1, that just gives him a longer leash, and we should be patient. But it also you're learning as you're winning, which is best case scenario. If you want to build a winning culture, if you want to build teams that come back in the second half, like this team has gone into the half twice this season down and came out with the W, right? We were down.
Yeah, I want to see him
week 1. We were down last week.
I'm not seeing anything though. That's the problem. I'm not seeing anything that's jumping out to me. Nothing that's looking good. The rushing ability that everyone knows Fields has. He runs a 4.4. 28 yards first week. Okay, it was in the rain. 20 yards last week. 47 yards this week. It's not going to get it done when you're only throwing for 100 yards a game.
It's the worst receiving core in the NFL.
But what is his rushing
core up against
his
any
rushing
other NFL
should be
team?
more. His rushing should be higher. Look at Lamar Jackson's receiving core. It's terrible. He's got Mark Andrews, but outside of that, he's got nobody else to throw the ball to. He's not throwing 4 touchdowns a game to Mark Andrews. He's still making it happen because he's great, and he's rushing for 80, 90, 100 yards a game, which Fields has the ability to do. He just isn't doing it. If you can't throw the ball or you're not, finding those receivers, tuck it and run. I mean, that was what everybody told Mitch to do, and Fields is a way better runner than
I think
Mitch
that's philosophy more than
be.
anything. I think he's being told not to. That's a last case scenario for him. I think they're trying to build him as a pocket passer first.
You think so? Because the passing attempts 17, 11, and 17 for the last 3 weeks. 17 is the game high in 3 weeks. They're not pocket passing there. I mean, what is that?
I think some of them are RPOs as well, and he's choosing the run because they're just dominating on the run game.
Yeah, the run game does look good.
I mean, if we're 0-3, maybe I would like start screaming for change, but 2-1 with a quarterback in his first year in the offense that's leading this team, albeit without his like ability leading his team. He is the quarterback and he's the leader of the team, and they're 2-1. They're a winning franchise right now in the NFL. Their roster is dog shit. I think we all can agree that like there's not a lot of talent on here. We have some of the most cap room available for next year to surround them with some talent. And I'll be damned if we go through this season and it's growing pains. Put some talent around him next year, and he might make that jump like you see with these quarterbacks that are making the jump, like the Tua. Now he's got Tyreek and Waddle. Once Allen got Stephon Diggs. Once Trevor Lawrence, right, new quarterback coach with Doug Peterson, and he's got some talent around him on the outside as well down there in Jacksonville with Kirk, right? I think you just need talent, and I think you need time.
Yeah. So you mentioned Trevor Lawrence. That's going to bring me to our waiver wire Wednesday. Honestly, it is it's brutal out there. If you are looking for some talent, it is rough. It's pretty dried up. But you mentioned Trevor Lawrence. If he's available in your league, I think he's about 70% owned at this point. He's looking good.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the Jacksonville offense is clicking right now. I don't know if it's Doug Peterson or if it's just Trevor Lawrence being in his second year, a combination of both, but it looks pretty good. They got Christian Kirk, he's got Zay Jones, who's going to be another name that I mentioned here, but Trevor Lawrence is probably the QB to pick up. If you picked up Tua and Tua hurt his back, he might be out this week. Jameis Winston might be out this week as well. They might be starting the Red Rocket Andy Dalton in New Orleans this week. So look for Trevor Lawrence. Running back wise, Jerick McKinnon, I mentioned him last week. He outsnapped Clyde Edwards-Helaire again this week. Edwards-Helaire, I think, rushed for 0 yards and a touchdown. I don't even know how he did that. But Jerick McKinnon is available in a lot of leagues. So take a look for him if you need a running back. Jamal Williams is probably owned in most leagues, but if he's not, DeAndre Swift might miss multiple weeks. Some people saying potentially out till week 7. Grab Jamal Williams immediately if he's available in your league. Romeo Doubs would be my top waiver ad this week if you had a number one waiver. Dobbs?
I think so.
Or Dubs? Dobbs,
I think it's
Romeo
Dobbs.
Dobbs.
I do like Romeo Dubs though.
Dubs that's a sweet nickname if it's not. Grab him though. He seems like the number one Packers wide receiver now that Sammy Watkins, of course, inevitably ends up on IR. So he's going to be out a while. Randall Cobb, I believe, is also hurt. Christian Watson missed this game with a hamstring injury, and Dobbs killed it. So I think he's probably their number one right now. I would look for him if he's available on your waiver wire. He's probably my number one ad this week. Other names to mention: Mac Hollins had a huge game, back-to-back weeks for the Raiders. I think there's been a lot of attention thrown Waller and Adams' way, and Mac Hollins has been the beneficiary of that. If you want to try and ride that hot streak, you can grab Mac Hollins or Zay Jones, his Jacksonville receiver that's looking pretty good with Trevor Lawrence. They seem to have a connection, so I look for him. Tight end wise, Tyler Conklin, I think, is the tight end 4 or 5 so far this year. He's put up, I think, roughly 12, 13, 14 points in 3 weeks. So a little consistency. He's getting the looks, but they are going to be moving from Joe Flacco to Zach Wilson with the Jets. So you never know if he's going to be able to keep that up or not. David Njoku had a huge game for Cleveland on Thursday night. Had kind of 2 duds the weeks before, so tread lightly with that one, but he could pop for a big week. If you need a tight end, it's pretty rough out there. And again, the Pittsburgh defense plays the Jets this week. I mentioned Zach Wilson's coming back. I just don't think Zach Wilson's got it. I would grab Pittsburgh if they're out there in your leagues. So those are your pickups for the week. Dan, give us your week.
Before we get into that, I'm just curious, since talking fantasy football, who are we're 3 weeks in, surprises, either outperforming what you thought they would or completely tanking? Like for me, some names that are coming to mind right away. Chris Olave, I think we're both kind of high on him, and he's been a target monster in New Orleans right now. And then you got some duds, right? I think some people were pretty high on Mooney. I think he was getting drafted pretty high, and he's absolutely disappearing. What about you?
So I'll mention a couple of Jags guys right off the bat. Christian Kirk's having a huge year so far, 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
That was somebody that you could get late in the draft, 9th, 10th, 11th round. And then Travis Etienne was somebody that was taken really high, who hasn't really done anything. And James Robinson was somebody that you could get late, killing it. So if you were able to figure out Jacksonville's running back rotation for the season started, you're probably looking pretty good. Some of the bigger names are looking really good. Obviously, Kupp is still Cooper Kupp. I think there was people that were thinking he was going to fall off, and Stephon Diggs is having a huge year. Justin Jefferson's been kind of disappointing, though. If I had taken Justin Jefferson, I would not be happy with what I've gotten so far out of him. His first game, he had like 39, 40 points, and then the last 2 weeks have been terrible. So it makes me wonder. Dalvin Cook's been kind of disappointing, too, if you took him late, high. I think he's gotten
anyone on the
7 or 8
Broncos. Anyone on the Broncos.
Oh, the Broncos have been terrible. The Broncos have been
brutal
terrible
to watch. Absolutely brutal to watch.
Yeah. Russell Wilson's been a huge disappointment. I thought he was going to have a huge year. I think a lot of people had him.
Sutton and Judy, people were like, oh, he's got, Russ is going to cook and they're just going to go off. And that team has looked so dysfunctional. That Nathaniel Hackett looks so overwhelmed to be calling everything. I think he belongs back in the booth being a coordinator. The clock management, the game time decision, I think he might be losing that locker room already.
Yeah. So those are definitely some takeaways that I've had too. And love Olave. I think he's going to be a stud. So, all right. How'd you do last week with your picks?
Not good, man. These first couple weeks here, I'm struggling. 6-10 last week. As we were doing the rundown, I was 3 for 3 in the first 3 games, and then I think I lost the next 4. But 6-10 last week. I'm ready to rebound. this week.
Okay. All right. I'll hit you with an easy one then, right off the bat. Miami against Cincinnati.
God dang it. Let's go Bengals. They can't go 0-4, right? No, they won last week. Right? Yeah, Bengals, and they're wearing those all white unis. Let's go Bengals, and Tua is probably out, concussed, maybe. Okay. I can't believe they're calling that a back injury.
Yeah, right. Sunday we got Minnesota at New Orleans. That's going to be in London, I believe. It starts at 8:30 Central Time.
I'm gonna go New Orleans, man.
All right. Not buying what Minnesota's selling. Cleveland at Atlanta.
Atlanta.
God, this guy just loves Marcus Mariota.
I do.
Buffalo Bills at Baltimore. That should be a fun game to watch too.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one at Baltimore. Buffalo after a loss, right?
Okay. Washington at Dallas. That's gonna be
Dallas.
an awful one to watch.
What's the quarterback in
Cooper
Dallas?
Rush.
Cooper Rush,
Yeah.
man, doesn't lose.
Doesn't lose.
Gonna
Guys,
be
2-0.
what is this? What is that story? Mickey Mantle, right? Didn't he like the story is that like I think it was DiMaggio Mantle like replaced somebody because of an injury and then like never sat again, just like completely took over. Maybe that's Cooper
Tom
Rush.
Brady, I think, might have done that.
Yeah.
Seattle at Detroit.
Detroit.
Yeah. Chargers at Houston.
Chargers. Man, Herbert's a boss. Played that game last week with like broken cartilage, right, in his rib cage and just slings it, man.
Got his butt kicked.
But they
38
lost.
to 10. Yeah, they lost 38 to 10 against the
shit.
Jags last week. But he did play.
I just remember
I mean,
seeing a highlight of him like scrambling and just throwing like a 50-yard bomb on the money.
Yeah. He needs to heal up for sure. And they need Keenan Allen back. Tennessee at Indianapolis.
Indy.
Okay. See, that's a tough one to predict. I feel like Chicago, the Giants.
Bears, baby. We're
Wow,
gonna go
3
3-1. Isn't that crazy?
I think so too. I mean, the Giants their wide receiver core is worse than ours.
Yeah,
somehow.
and they just lost Shepard, right?
Yep.
I got
lost Shepard doing
Kadarius
ACL.
Toney on a team, and I don't know what's going on with him. He's like their top talent receiver, and he's just like in the doghouse. He's hurt. He's not playing. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Jacksonville, Philly.
Philly looks like one of the best teams in football right now.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts has been an absolute stud.
And they hated him last year. Philly fans wanted him out last year. So remember that when you're hating on Justin Fields.
It's because they had Gardner Minshew as backup. I mean, look at Gardner Minshew.
Minshew
Guys, just got that stash. He like lives in a bus outside the gym like all off season. He's awesome. Jets at Pittsburgh.
Jets, man. They got
wow.
They got Wilson coming back. Elijah Moore is going to go off. And I think Pittsburgh's first time in a long time quarterback controversy, man. They had Roethlisberger there forever, and now they got Trubisky, and they got the rookie in the wings, and I think the fans are getting upset. Tomlin's got a decision to make.
Trubisky's not the answer. No, he's not. He's never the answer. Arizona at Carolina.
Cardinals. I pick them solely because I have Kyler Murray, and I just need to like tell myself that they're going to turn it around.
And it never happens.
Yep.
New England at Green Bay.
Packers.
Yep. Denver at Vegas.
Raiders will not start 0-4. Raiders.
Okay. Kansas City at Tampa Bay. It's going to be the night game. I think that's in Tampa with the hurricane going on.
Yeah, and I think I heard if they have to move it, it's going to be into a neutral location in the Midwest, which would be fun to like. It would be cool to see an NFL game played at like Michigan, like the biggest stadium. Mm-hmm. Let's go Tampa Bay.
Okay,
they're getting a couple of receivers back, and Tampa Bay.
All right, and then the Monday night game is going to be Rams at San Francisco.
Rams.
Over in your neck of the woods, a couple California teams.
Yep.
Going Rams? All right.
Yeah.
That's unlike the Dan that I know, but all right, there it is. Those are your week 4 picks. And I'll let you speak on our week 3 fantasy football matchup if you want to.
Yeah, we didn't really hype it up. I feel like we usually do, but Evan and I played this last week in our like personal league that we run that Evan's a commissioner in. And I thought for sure I was up by like 20 points or so going into the Monday night game. Monday night, right? Or Sunday night?
Sunday night.
Sunday night game. It was 49ers against who they play? Broncos. And you had 3 players. You had the kicker, McManus from the Broncos. You had Kittle from the 49ers. And you had Williams, the running back of the Broncos. And you needed 20 points out of the 3 of them. And boy, was that game dog shit. And you didn't get it. And I won by like 3 points or something like that.
Yeah, it was a brutal
loss.
Just
completely kicked your ass. You didn't stand a chance. You had no hope. And your team sucks.
McManus missed a field goal that would have given me 5 points, and
Kittle.
Melvin Gordon runs a touchdown in for whatever reason. Javonte Williams doesn't get the goal line work, and Kittle just stunk in his first game back. So, yeah,
And
brutal
you stink.
loss.
You stink.
And I stink. It's my fault. I'm the manager. It's no one's fault but my own.
Talk to your team.
Yeah, I gotta round
Rally
the troops and yeah, rally the troops. That's
circle
what it is.
circle the wagons.
Circle the wagons. All right, I'm gonna give you a fast fact before we head out here.
Let's do it.
New York Yankees star Aaron Judge hit his 61st home run of the season Wednesday night against the Blue Jays, tying Roger Maris' American League record. It took Maris until October 1st, the final game of the 1961 season, to hit his 61st, which broke Babe Ruth's record of 60 home runs that he set in 1927. So it's been 61 years since 1961 that he hit number 61. So, I mean, he's still got a few days here to do it. I think he can pass this record. What do you think, Dan? You think Aaron Judge is going to do it?
I think you will, but then I also want to post the question of like, are these home run records, do they still hold weight? Do you still think they're legit? I mean, we had the Barry Bonds, we had the Mark McGwire era, steroid era. Yeah, the ball's different. Like, are we regulating steroids? I don't know. Like, do you think this is like, because it's not the same, right? Remember when Barry Bonds broke it? Remember when it was Big Mac and Sosa going at it? Like, the world was on fire about those races, right? About the home run races. This is just like, oh, yeah. Like,
yeah, I think
Judge
a lot of
broke
people
it.
are trying to hide behind the fact that this is the American League record because Bonds, McGwire, Sosa, they were all NL players. So he is breaking a record in that sense. And it does feel like he's doing this legit, whereas the other three didn't. But at the time, no one knew, and it was kind of okay to do that until the league, found out that this was a bigger problem and that not every player was doing this. So,
All right,
yeah,
I got a would you rather,
I still
Evan.
think it's interesting. Okay, let's do it.
You're a professional athlete. Would you rather take steroids and break records and be like one of the best performers in your sport, or not take steroids and be a player who like was kind of forgotten about, like never really accomplished much?
Okay, you got to give me two. You got to give me two players' names then in that scenario, because if I'm thinking
Okay,
like,
would
okay,
you
I can
rather
be
be
Ken
Barry
Griffey.
Bonds or Michael Barrett?
Oh, Barry Bonds, 100%. I mean, Michael Barrett, there's no star value there,
Yeah, but he also goes out every single day of his life and no one knows who he is. And he's made millions of dollars to where you go outside and you're Barry Bonds. Like, people are either praising you or ridiculing you.
Yeah, that's true. But that's all part of it. I mean, that's
Yeah,
why
it's
you
a would
take
you
the
rather.
roids. That's why you take the roids. And that's why you're,
So you're juicing. You juicing?
oh, I'm juicing. Yeah, juicing. I'm breaking the records and I'm letting people argue about it for the rest of their lives. What about you?
I think, yeah, like if I'm being romantic about baseball, how can you not be romantic about baseball? I'm not. I'm just doing it naturally. I'm a bullpen catcher for 10 years. Just living in stadiums and I don't know, just being a part of it and having stories to tell and living a regular life.
Being that guy at the end of the bar. Yeah, I played for the Cubs one time.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thanks again for joining us. For Dan's Luck, I'm Evan Bierman. You've been listening to the Domestic Draft Podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to rate the show. You can find us on Twitter at Domestic Draft, on Instagram at Domestic Draft Podcast. Our website is domesticdraft.com, and you can find the show on YouTube. Just search up Domestic Draft and drop us a sub. Thanks again for listening. Cheers.
Cheers.